study,
and play come together on a Windows 11 PC.
And for a limited time, college students get
The best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Expedia and Visit Scotland invite you to come step into centuries of history that await in Scotland. Castles steeped in legend, walk along cobblestone streets. Come share the warmth of stories passed down through generations. This is a place with a past that is fully present today and all yours to explore. Plan your Scottish escape today at expedia.com/Visit Scotland.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wrestling Draft.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Wrestling Draft. My name is David Hockney, and today in the co-hosting chair, we have the host of the fourth official podcast, who last season, his team finished bottom of the table, much like, which is the only thing more embarrassing is when you lose, or rather, I should say, you finish in third place when it's a two-horse race. It's none other than Gary Morris. Gary, how are you?
Always a pleasure, David. But no, it's nice to be back.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you what, Gary, this is your first time in the hosting chair this season. We've already had Andy, we've already had JP. So we've been around the houses with the co-hosting chair, but let's see if you can raise the bar. We've had you on previous shows before, and it's always been a pleasure. So let's see what we can dig up on this week.
Well, at least you've got a professional podcast host on this week, so that makes a difference. So.
That is a solid argument to be had, but we'll dive in straight to the top scorers of the week, and this is following Double or Nothing at the weekend, which was obviously an AEW programming, so expect to see a lot of AEW high scorers this week, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. So just a quick mention, going from 6th to 4th, we've got Jungle Boy, Chris Jericho, and Orange Cassidy all scoring this time around, but our top scorers in the top 3, third place, Coping Cage, Andy Mitchell's tag team, 10 points, winning the I Quit match against FTR. Gary, I think we both knew this was coming. Andy was firm on the Coping Cage train, very confident of a tag team win, and they're now his top scorers with 15 points total. So those 10 have really sort of boosted his score up.
To be fair, it was the tag team that I wanted, but by the time, obviously, it came round, it had already gone, so I waited to the last round to get my tag team at that point and just went for a bit of a fun one. But if the cards had landed nicely, then, that I would have liked to have got that one, as I think many others would have.
Yeah, for sure. And the way to win it, they've won it as well. It's I Quit style with Spike and the sharpshooter. I think that was pretty well executed, but it now looks like the Dogs are going after them now. So could we see a retention in for Andy's team here? But I think there's also a firm nostalgia factor as well. You've got two guys in their 50s, maybe looking to put over a new young team. Could this be just a one-hit wonder for Coping Cage at this point?
I don't know. You've got that name factor with the two of them, and obviously Christian's been in AEW now for a long time and has always been in and around programming without really being a main part of it, and it's certainly been a long time since he's had a face run in AEW. So I think when we saw on Dynamite this week them bringing back the 5-second pose and things like that, so they're clearly having a bit of fun with it, knowing that it's probably going to be their last run together. So I think it probably does go on for a little bit longer. I don't quite see as much, obviously, it was a Canada pay-per-view. It was against FTR. They're obviously good mates of them. It was always going to be a banger of a match, which it was. So, yeah, I think on paper it looked like the safest tag team to go for this season. And the fact that they're obviously the best scoring tag team on the board tells you that it was a good pick for Andy.
Yeah, good play from Andy there. One person I would like to now turn your attention to is Dan Axel Jameson, who has, at this point of the season, announced a captaincy change. So last week, he changed his captaincy from Liv Morgan to Will Ospreay. And let me tell you, I think it might have been a good decision because Will Ospreay is currently second in the top 3 with 11 points overall, defeating Samoa Joe in the Owen Hart tournament. So that's one pay-per-view win for him. He's got 3 TV wins as well. So that's tied the most with Trick Williams as well. So, Orange Cassidy, I should say. And Will Ospreay is now tied with Orange as the 4th highest scorer of the season so far. So obviously we mentioned Orange Cassidy before as one member of the Trios champions, but Ospreay, I think Dan's looking ahead that Ospreay could be winning the Owen Hart tournament. And to be honest, I don't blame him with the performance he's put in the last couple of weeks. I think it seems very viable at this stage.
Yeah, plus obviously Liv's kind of spinning her heels a little bit anyway on Raw. No real program, obviously due to the Stephanie Kerr injury. So it's probably quite a sensible move because Liv Morgan normally a good kind of points juggernaut, but really a bit of a pitiful figure at the moment on WWE programming, despite being the champion. So
nothing in 6 weeks for Liv Morgan as of yet.
Yeah, so it makes sense to move the captaincy away from that and try and get double points somewhere else. So clearly a decent move, even though it is early for a captaincy change.
But our top scorer of the week, yet again, I think we're getting sick of repeating this man's name on the draft. But he's the 2nd highest scorer of the season, just behind the former AEW champion Darby Allin, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But Jon Moxley, 14 points this week, successfully defending against Kyle O'Reilly at Double or Nothing. 2 TV wins, 1 pay-per-view title win, non-title TV wins, I should say. 12 appearances and only 1 pay-per-view appearance. Moxley has been running roughshod, and I think no surprise Robert Shaw picked him round 1, and it is clear that Moxley's going to be Robert's juggernaut for the season.
Yeah, especially now with the title off Darby as well, because Darby was showing signs of being a bit of a kind of workhorse champ, but now with MJF being the champ again, that might put the skids on Darby a little bit, so we'll see what happens there. But Moxley's been a really strong performer in this draft for many a season now, so a very sensible round 1 pick.
And just a note on MJF as well, 19 points for the season so far, tied with Mark Briscoe. So it's maybe one, I don't know if MJF has been drafted or not. I think I can't remember if he was picked up in round 6 or was he left undrafted. If not, we could be looking at a hot commodity for the transfer window at this point.
I think he was picked. I think he was.
We can double check that as we go along. But we'll go to our leaderboard now and see how the scores of Double or Nothing have rolled into the teams. So still at the bottom, despite a Cope and Cage win, it's Andy Mitchell with El Baldi and Michicano on 55. But the gap's closing. We've got 3 points ahead of him. Anthony Fitzpatrick with Bring Back the Split season. Not a great season for him so far. His top scorer is the Young Bucks. And also Robert Stone with appearance points. But to be honest, on paper, it's not a very impressive looking team at this stage. So I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony would be the wooden spoon receiver this season, shall we say. But let's not look some other potential lows finishers. Here's another one, Alan Lucas. Very nice, very evil on 69. Very nice, shall we say. Then we have Matt Smith with Actually Trying is the New Not Trying on 71. Yeah, starting to think the vibes is what he's been missing. Actually Trying for him just doesn't seem to be working. 2 points ahead of him, it's yourself, Gary, with Gaz's Who's Party on 73. Then we have Stephen Wilson with the Lucha Dogs on 76. then as we go into the top 5 now, we have Robert fucking Shaw with the Draft Bastards, 85. Then myself in 4th, West End Country Club on 87. Dan Axel Jameson in 3rd with a living kicking 92. So Dan in the chat has actually been complaining about how, he was worried he didn't get a lot of points this time around. But second top scorer of the week, with the new captaincy applied onto Will Ospreay. I think he's made a smart decision here. So he's 5 points ahead of me, but 8 points behind second place, which is JP with Paige Loves a Trick Willie on 100 points. So one of only 2 performers to break triple digits so far. And 29 points ahead is Team GOAT with the GOAT David Campbell. 5 TV title defenses for Darby Allin as AEW champion, however, dropping the title to MJF at Double or Nothing. And another notice on captaincies, he has now switched the captaincy from Darby Allin to Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce, which I think is probably the smartest thing he could have done, because Scrap Daddy is on 28 appearances for the season, 28 points for the season so far, and 20 TV appearances, 1 pay-per-view appearance, and with those additional appearances this past Monday on Raw, those are with the captaincy applied. So tied with Roman Reigns as well on 22 points apiece. So it's I think it's dire straits for Team GOAT at this point until the transfer window, Gary. But do you think this is where the GOAT's lead starts to shrink as the season starts to move forward?
Hopefully. I think you're looking at Dan's team as well. Dan's team's obviously very heavily AEW orientated. So obviously an AEW pay-per-view just come off, but we're now going into a period where obviously we've got Clash this weekend. We've then got a few more kind of WWE pay-per-views coming up across the kind of summer. So we're expecting kind of WWE points to start ramping up a little bit. So hopefully that's when you start to see that the pack starting to come in a little bit. And I think certainly from my perspective that I've got a 5-1 split for me. So I need some points to get me out of the mid-table.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the juggernauts of the season are starting to take shape as well. Like, obviously up until now, Darby Allin was Team GOAT's juggernaut with all those title defenses, but you also can't take away myself having Roman Reigns, who's currently on 43 with the captaincy applied, and he has a world heavyweight title defense against Jacob Fatu in Tribal Combat at Clash. So that should be a one to watch for sure. JP as well, Trick Williams as his juggernaut, 51 points with the captaincy applied, 27 overall for the season, and Trick Williams' 3rd highest scorer, just half a point behind Moxley. Now that is something I think that's worth paying close attention for. Trick Williams has become massively over on SmackDown as of late. He's had 3 pay-per-view appearances, 8 TV appearances, and 3 title defenses so far. 2 TV wins, non-title, and 1 successful defense against Sami Zayn at Backlash. Do you think Trick Williams could potentially be the dark horse for the remainder of this season?
No pun intended, obviously, but it's one of those where US champion's been very heavily featured within the draft the last 2 or 3 seasons due to the Open Challenge, and obviously Trick doesn't do the Open Challenge, but SmackDown being a 3-hour show, obviously it's going to stop being a 3-hour show, but in the not too distant future, so that might cut down a little bit of the time, but you'd expect the US champ still to be featured quite heavily, just given how over that he is in that. SmackDown mid-card, kind of similar to the Raw mid-card in and around Penta, who also is doing great work and getting lots of points at the moment. That seems to be the area that you can really rely on just now for regular appearances as the mid-card on both WWE shows.
Yeah, Penta had a successful defense against Javon Evans this past week on Raw as well, so I think that was needed for Steven's team. Steven's sort of like smack bang in the middle of the table at the minute. I think Penta's intercontinental title defenses are what's making the difference. But the very definition of a one-man army is Jon Moxley on Robert Shaw's team. So his 2nd highest scorer is Tony D'Angelo on 10. The rest of his team are in single digits, including the Usos, Javon Evans, Jacy Jayne, and Zarya. But Moxley is single-handedly carrying that team. And because of that, Robert is firmly in 5th place, just 2 points behind me. So it just goes to show that if you get a very good, strong pick with your captaincy applied, you can really run roughshod on the season. But you have to be careful that they don't run out of steam too quickly, much like the case of Team Goat with Darby Allin. And now he's sort of left floundering a little bit here.
Yeah,
but
and you just wonder how much juice is left in Danhausen because whilst he's massively over selling a ton of merch, I think he's the type of act that you don't want to burn out too quickly. And I just wonder that the fact that you're maybe not seeing quite so much of him in the last couple of weeks might be a sign that they're maybe starting to slow him down ever so slightly, which is kind of bad news for me because obviously I picked Miz and Kit Wilson because of the Danhausen effect. That. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Speaking of your team, though, it's you've got two 20-point above scorers. You've got the captaincy on Becky Lynch, who is defending the title against Sol Ruka at Clash. You've got Seth Rollins, who's obviously trying to bounce back against the Vision. You've got Jericho, who won at Double or Nothing in Stadium Stampede. Dom Mysterio's been kind of left hanging a little bit, and obviously Stephanie's been out with injury. So, you've got the man's man on your team here. I mean, it looks nice on paper alongside like Chris Jericho, Dominic Mysterio, etc. But you're just below the halfway point, and you're only a handful of points between a lot of competitors here. Where do you see your team going forward? Because sort of leewaying into the sort of Clash in Italy booking, Becky Lynch is defending against Sol Ruka, who's on my team. I think a Becky Lynch retention would be really good for you, even though Sol Ruka's already got not a retention, but a win by DQ on Saturday night's main event.
And I think using WWE logic, I think it's probably a little bit early for Sol Ruka to get given a belt. I think especially given the few botches that have been kind of quite high profile over the last kind of few weeks. And I think Becky, obviously having just won the Intercontinental title back after losing it to AJ, I don't know if they want to keep doing a kind of hot potato with that title with Becky. So I kind of foresee Becky probably keeping it and then going into maybe a little bit of a program with Jessica Carr, which I think has been building now for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I think Sol Ruka's time will come. I don't think it'll be this weekend. I hope it's not this weekend. But I think Sol Ruka, knowing the way that WWE likes to try and build up, especially face contenders, I think that they want to try and give it a bit more juice because otherwise they maybe run the risk of turning it into Julia, and Julia's not quite recovered from that. So
maybe, but I've got to back my gal.
Oh, of course, that's like from your perspective, you want Sol to win, but I just think it's maybe a little early, and I think given
this is TKO's WWE though. It's not the Vince era. You can't think Vince logic in this case. You have to think TKO logic in this point. Which, to be honest, there isn't any.
No, but I'd like to think that Becky's probably got enough credit in the bank that she'll probably put AJ over, and then AJ didn't really do anything other than then giving it back.
And if Becky does have a feud with Jessica Carr down the line, it doesn't need the championship. I don't think.
No, but I think
if anything, this could be the last straw for Becky. She loses the Intercontinental title because of corrupt Carr, and
you could see that happening. Yeah, absolutely, but
so you get two programs and one out of it.
Yeah, but I probably hoping more than believing, but I think our time might come. I'm just not convinced it's this weekend.
No, I get it. You back the man. In your case, I'll back Sol because we're sort of biased on this one in terms of who's on our team. But we'll review the rest of Clash in Italy, which is happening this Saturday, I believe, and hopefully at respectable time as well, so we can just watch it without having to lose any.
I think it's Sunday, actually. I think it's Sunday tea time.
Oh no, you're right. Yes, May 31st. It is Sunday. My mistake. But yeah, Sunday evening. Either way, reasonable time for us here in the UK. It's only like an hour ahead, so that'll be fine. Yeah, so the other matches, we've got Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar. So Andy Mitchell's obviously picked Obafemi. he needs this big time to get him out of the slump that he's in. But I think, we could be seeing a potential best of 3 between these two.
It could go that way. The only thing is I'm not convinced that they'll want Oba to eat a loss yet. So I don't know if we might get a bit of a kind of smozzy double count out or something type one to try and keep it going. Because I'm not convinced they want Oba to eat a loss yet. But I also don't think Brock will lose again as well. So that could be like a double knockout or something like that potentially. But in that way, it doesn't overly stop Oba's momentum.
Yeah. There was one thing that came up on Monday Night Raw as well. LA Now announced that he was participating in the King of the Ring tournament. And I remember saying this last season that I think Obafemi, if he does enter the tournament, I think he's got the best chance of winning King of the Ring.
Yeah,
because if you think about it, Oba, and I think it was some sort of Nigerian language, it literally translates to king or ruler. So yeah, I think it's made for him at that point. But I think we'll just get to the Lesnar obstacle first, and then we'll cross the King of the Ring bridge when we get to it. So, but Andy's not fighting with just Oba. He's got Rhea Ripley as well, defending the women's championship against Jade Cargill. And I believe Rhea Ripley's his captain as well. So a retention for her would do wonders for him at this stage.
Yeah, and I think that's on the cards for me. I don't see them taking the title off Rhea yet, especially not to Jade Cargill. I think you're already starting to see seeds of another Rhea Charlotte program coming in
Possibly,
the distance.
yeah.
So I think if Rhea loses it to anyone, it's more likely to be Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember who's drafted Jade Cargill as well, because I'm pretty sure she was drafted. But I thought it was Team GOAT at first, but no, it was because I was sure that he was giving Jade another chance, but she was off for a while. But yeah, I'm so out of touch when it comes to sort of keeping track with these teams here. I can't even remember if Jade Cargill was even drafted.
I checked earlier, and MJF hadn't been picked as of yet. So,
okay, so there you go, a hot commodity for the transfer window then.
Jade is also not been drafted.
Mental. So it's just potential points to be had for Andy in this case. But then we've got the 2 world title matches as well. Cody Rhodes versus Gunther. So Cody Rhodes picked by, I think it was not you, Gary. It was Matt Smith. Trying is not actually trying is the new not trying. And then Gunther, I believe, was picked up in round 2 or 3.
Yeah, Gunther's on Dan's team.
Yeah. So we've got Matt versus Dan in this battle here. So Gunther's only on 8 points at the minute. He's not really had anything since WrestleMania, but the move to SmackDown, I think, is probably what he needed.
A Gunther win here.
Yeah,
and with
same.
it being in Europe, I think it could happen. I think we're all probably waiting for the Cody heel turn that's probably required for him. And with it being in Europe, although that counts for nothing again, because through all those times. But I could see if there's going to be a title change, that one for me feels more likely than Fatu beating Roman.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I assume what's going to be the main event is going to be Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu, tribal combat for the World Heavyweight Championship. Jacob Fatu also on Matt's team. Roman Reigns is my captain. So a Sol Ruka Intercontinental title win and a Roman Reigns retention would be fantastic for the West End Country Club. Matt's team overall is, also taken a bit of a hit, because Logan Paul has also been written off with injury for about 6 months with a torn tricep. So his tag team of the division is literally been snuffed out at this point.
Which will be a sore one. But
at least he has a reason to wait for the transfer window.
Completely cursed. Although I know that they're calling in the Freebirds rule to allow them to get through. So whether that means that Bronson Reed's maybe fit to return, maybe potentially
Yeah.
soon. Possibly might be a way out, but
if you've seen Bronson Reed's Instagram, he's looking jacked at the minute.
yeah.
But so as it stands on Raw, because of Logan's injury, yeah, the Vision's now using the Freebird rules. So Austin Theory is now tag team champions with Braun Breaker. However, it doesn't count as title points for that one. It's just simply, here's the tag title you're going to defend in Logan's place. But for every successful defense that happens, Stephen will get the points for that. Braun Breaker's on Stephen's team. He's only on 7 at the minute. But yeah, so Stephen now has one half of the tag team champions on his team. That could help as long as he gets a few retentions under his wing.
Yeah, but obviously if Cody loses as well at the weekend and Jacob loses, that could be a really sore weekend for that team.
Yeah. I think that could potentially push Matt to the bottom of the table. Because, pay-per-view, if your captain loses a title match, it's a negative points impact. And when you look at Very Nice, Very Evil, there's literally no representation for Clash in Italy on that front. So, yeah, it's going to be it's certainly going to be one to watch, that's for sure. I think we're in agreement.
It looks like a really good card, and
only 5 matches though. It's it's the old NXT formula on a 3-hour show. It doesn't really do it as well.
No, not for the money they charge for it. But I think
not at all.
What we saw with Backlash was that Backlash was actually a really, really good pay-per-view. Let's call it that way. It was a really enjoyable show. I expect Clash will be really enjoyable because the crowd are going to be so into everything that they do. And I think on paper, every match looks like it's got something on it and will be enjoyable. So, and I think it seems to be their way is that they'd rather have smaller cards, but everything meaning something rather than filler in there. And do you know what? I don't disagree with that too much, but I still think for the money they charge for tickets, you're wanting more than just 5 matches. It needs to be more value for your buck than that. Even if it is some dark matches or something, which they don't do anymore. But
or just make it a 2-hour show if you're just going to have just matches. Because you typically get 5 matches on a 2-week TV taping of SmackDown usually.
But yeah, everything should bang. I think Gunther, Cody, we've seen them before. They can put on a great match.
Tribal Combat's going to be wild, I think.
Will be, and you'll get probably Usos getting involved in there as well. Potentially, maybe a debut for Ziliafa too. Potentially, we've all been possibly speculating over. There's the Solo and Tamatonga get involved. There's plenty of options, I think, for plenty of shenanigans. So I
think they're trying to bring back the old Bloodline storyline a little bit in an attempt to boost ratings with Roman Reigns at the helm, which I'm not against, as long as Roman Reigns gets exposure as my team captain and he gets title defenses at least all the way up to SummerSlam. I can't really complain. I'm more curious about where the direction of the story is going, because Jacob seems a lot more of a credible challenger than, say, like Jey Uso back at SummerSlam
100%.
23. That's kind of what I was hoping to see.
And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens after it. And that I firmly believe that there's money to be printed with another Seth and Roman clash. So I think for me that probably should be the SummerSlam main event as Roman and Seth. So
maybe
we'll see if it goes that way. That was certainly part of my thinking with it being a long season, as that's where potentially I see it going. And I think with SummerSlam being a big stadium show, I think it needs a big stadium main event, and I think for
in Minneapolis as well. So
it could well happen. So, but I think Jacob's doing some great work just now. So, no matter what, I think the match will be a banger.
Yeah, a lot to consider. But the good news is it's going to be on at a reasonable time, so we can all enjoy our dinners and just sit back and enjoy it. Despite all the endless ads and product placement and
which wasn't as bad on
prices.
Backlash as it was at Mania. So hopefully, I think we've learned from it a little bit.
Fingers crossed. But I'll remain cautiously. Actually, no, I'll remain pessimistic on this one. because they need to do something. They need to do like a major overhaul if they want me to get my interest peaked again. But that's a discussion for another day. That's been this week's episode of the Wrestling Draft. Hope you enjoyed listening to it. If you want to catch our back catalogue, you can follow us on Spotify, iTunes, and any Android podcasting sites, whichever you prefer. You can follow us on our socials at the Wrestling Draft, Facebook, Instagram, X, whichever you use. And if you want to get involved with our Listeners League, reach out to us. We'll be happy to have you on board. We'll send you the rules, the pool of competitors, and compete in the Listeners League, earn some bragging rights, and then you can join us here in the Premier League and just see if you can earn some more bragging rights. But all that remains to see is thank you, Gary Morris, for joining me in the co-hosting chair.
Pleasure. Enjoy your pizza at the weekend. I think it's the snack of choice for a pay-per-view in Italy. So
yeah, I'll be going to Italy this summer, so I'll be knee-deep in pizza by that point. But anyway, I've been David Hockney. This has been the Wrestling Draft, and we'll see you next time. Same draft time, same draft place.